A treasury of Irish folk and fairy tales. The White Trout, a legend of Cong. S. Lover. There was once upon a time, long ago, a beautiful lady that lived in a castle upon the Lake Bann, and they say she was promised to a king's son, and they were to be married, when all of a sudden he was murdered. The crather, Lord help us, and thrown into the lake above, and so, of course, he couldn't keep his promise to the fair lady, and more's the pity. Well, the story goes that she went out of her mind because of losing the king's son, for she was tender-hearted, God help her, like the rest of us, and pined away after him, until at last no one about seen her, good or bad, and the story went that the fairies took her away. Well, sir, in course of time, the White Trout, God bless it, was seen in the Strom Ban. And sure, the people didn't know what to think of the crather, seeing as how White Trout was never heard of before, nor since. And years upon years, the trout was there, just where you seen it this blessed minute. No longer can I tell, I though, and bant the memory of thou'st in the village. At last, the people began to think it must be a fairy, for what else could it be? And no hurt nor harm was ever put in the White Trout until some wicked sinner of Sawyer's came to these parts, and laughed at all the people, and gibbed and jeered them for thinking of the likes. And one of them in particular, bad luck to him, God forgive me for saying it, swore he'd catch the trout, and ate it for his dinner, the blackguard. Well, what would you think of the villainy of the Sawyer? Sure enough, he cotched the trout, and away wid him home, and puts in the frying pan, and into it he pitches the purty little thing. The trout squealed all as one as a Christian crather, and, my dear, you'd think the Sawyer'd split his sides laughing, for he was a hearted villain, and when he thought one side was done, he turns it over to fry the other, and what would you think but the divil a taste of a bun was in it all at all. And sure the Sawyer thought it was a queer trout that could not be briled, but, says he, I'll give it another turn by and by, little thinking what was in store for him. The heathen. Well, when he thought that said was done, he turns it again, and lo and behold you, the devil to taste more done than side was nor the other. Bad luck to me, says the Sawyer, but the bait's the world, says he. But I'll try you again, my darling, says he, as a cunning as you think yourself. And so with that he turns it over and over, but not a sign of the fire was on the purty trout. Well, says the desperate villain, for sure, sir, only he was desperate villain entirely. He might not know he was doing a wrong thing, seeing that all his endeavors was no good. Well, says he, my jolly little trout, maybe you're fried enough that you don't seem over well dressed, but you may be better than you look, like a singed cat, and a tit-bit after all, says he, and with that he ups with his knife and fork to taste a piece of the trout. But my jewel, the minute he puts his knife into the fish, there was a murtherin' screech, that you'd think the life'd leave you if you heard it. In a ways jumped the trout out of the frying pan into the middle of the floor, and the spot where it fell, up rose a lovely lady, the beautifulest creature that eyes have ever seen, dressed in white and a band of gold in her hair, and a stratham of blood running down her arm. Look where you cut me, you villain, says she, and she held out her arm to him, and my dear, he thought the side'd leave his eyes. Couldn't you leave me cool and comfortable in the river where you snared me, and not disturb me in my duty, says she. Well, he trembled like a dog in a wet sack, and at last he stammered out something, and begged for his life, and asked her ladyship's pardon, and said he didn't know she was on duty, or he was too good a Sawyer not to know better nor to meddle with her. I was on duty then, said the lady. I was watching for my true love that is coming by wather to me, says she, and if he comes while I'm away, and that I miss him, I'll turn you into a pinkin, and I'll hunt you up and down for evermore, while grass grows and water runs. Well, the Sawyer thought that life would leave him at the thoughts of his being turned into a pinkin, and begged for mercy. And with that, says the lady, renounce your evil courses, says she, you villain, or you'll repent it too late. Be a good man for the further, and go to your duty, attendance at the confessional, regular, and now, says she, take me back, and put me into the river again where you found me. Oh, my lady, says the Sawyer, How could I have the heart to drown a beautiful lady like you?" But before he could say another word, the lady was vanished, and there he saw the little trout on the ground. Well, he put it in a clean plate, and away he runs for the bare life, for fear her lover would come while she was away. And he run, even till he came to the cave again, and threw the trout into the river. The minute he did, the water was as red as blood for a little while, by reason of the cut, I suppose, until the stream washed the stain away. And to this day there's a little red mark on the trout's side where it was cut. Well, sir, from that day out, the Sawyer was an altered man, and reformed his ways, and went to his duty reg'lar, and fasted 3 times a week, though it was never fish he took in fasting days. For after the fright he got, fish should never rest in his stomach, save in your presence. But anyhow, he was an altered man, as I said before, and in course of time he left the army, and turned hermit at last, and they say he used to pray evermore for the soul of the white trout. These trout stories are common all over Ireland. Many holy wells are haunted by such blessed trout. There is a trout in a well on the border of Loch Gill, Sligo, that some paganish person put once on the gridiron. It carries the marks to this day. Long ago, the saint who sanctified the well put that trout there. Nowadays, it is only visible to the pious who have done due penance. The end.